Dawson's Rambles.
Hey YouTube, Dawson Ryder here. Welcome to another Top 5. This Top 5 is inspired by some recent news. I wanted to do Top 5 things that I want to see as a potential successor series for Go-Go Power Rangers, and also about the SPD thing, which I'll talk about first, even though it's in the Top 5. Just a disclaimer at the beginning, just in case, I'm filming this a few days early to be one of my weekend Top 5 videos. So just in case I get scooped and they announce Go-Go successor, this can just be kind of a general, what kind of series would I like to see? Like a third series. But for now, it's meant to be what I would want to replace Go-Go in this timeline before I get scooped. So before I even talk about the top 5, as part of this title's video there was that SPD image we were shown around the time of Soul of the Dragon, which showed us like the updated roster with Green Ranger JJ with the dragon shield, and you had, was it Swan from Hyperforce, who's now blue, and then Bridge wearing the Fire Squad outfit from Deca Ranger, and then Deca Ranger, Sky's actual outfit, and they released that. That was really cool, and I assumed that would lead to something. Because why would you go through, I mean, I guess it could be kind of a fun thing. It's not unheard of for sites to tweet out, or Facebook out, or Instagram out, or whatever, like little fun images like that, but it seemed like it was a teaser for something that's yet to happen. Like, I think we all assumed that maybe one of the next graphic novel projects was going to be an SPD series, kind of like they did with Psychopath. That's what I'm still hoping. It's in the top 5, but that was out there, so I think that's a decent possibility for some sort of future project, since it was put out there. Maybe it got delayed, or maybe they just wanted to tease it uber early, who knows. But let's get into the actual top 5 things then, shall we? So for number 5 of a series that could replace Go-Go, this one's more of a pipe dream. It was a really cool idea. Someone commented on my video of top 5 things I want to see out of the comics this year, of something I didn't even think of, which is like comic stories that would explore like mythology of Power Rangers, like backstories of some of the villains or powers, or just anything about the mythology we've been introduced to. I find this kind of financially unlikely as a series. Like, this would be something that would happen more in something like Star Wars or Marvel, where it's like an actual property, like a big property. So this would be like a pipe dream one, but this would still be really cool. I doubt there would be a series, at least right now in the franchise, that would be dedicated to this. I think it would be pretty hard to sell outside of hardcore fans like us. But it's still a cool idea, and I think that would be neat to potentially explore in some form. Even if it's like an annual story here and there that explores it, there's all kinds of cool lore that's just really like kind of ripe for, you know, the picking. So number 4 would kind of be MMPR related, because some of these I'm like, it's stuff I want, and other things I want, but I could also see as being possibly marketable. So for number 4, I picked a Jason solo comic. Like, not the guy from Legends that's Han and Leia's son, but like Jason Scott solo comic that's like based around him, whether it would be like an ongoing series or maybe a mini series of 5 parts or a graphic novel. I think that would be really cool. It would take a little attention off Tommy, and mainly I want it to be around the comics Jason. I want to be clear, not the one-note show Jason, the comics Jason. I was mainly thinking about this when I was catching up on Go-Go, and I was thinking about how much they've really developed the characters, especially Jason, and I would love a comic that explores either specifically the time between when he was Omega Red and eventually Zeo Gold, or even just all around, like a series that jumps around throughout his life, like maybe some time from MMPR, some from the Omega, again, between Omega and Gold, after Gold, because he clearly wandered around in Forever Red. I think there's a lot of interesting stuff to explore there. I think it would be cool if like they announced that as a surprise and then used it to market the team up and vice versa. Like, you have the comic, and then at the end of the comic there's like, hey, catch Jason on the Power Rangers Beast Morphers crossover event, and then on TV you add like, oh hey, check out this cool Jason solo comic. Again, not Jason Solo Star Wars. This is one that, even though I'm done with MMPR kind of, I do like the character of comic Jason, and I think that could be one that could sell because it's recognizable. It's MMPR, and it's one of the more recognizable Red Rangers, and we could get some cool stories about it, because they could be like, hey look, remember MMPR's original Red Ranger, but then us as fans get some cool stories about some post-Zeo stuff, so you never know. Number 3 is the SPD comic that I was talking about, you know, that we were teased. Again, what form that would take, I don't know. Again, even though SPD is a popular series, in the fandom, I still can't see, and who knows, I could get scooped by this, and this could happen, because you never know after we went back to Go Busters, but I just don't see them doing an ongoing series based solely off a non-MMPR season without a tether, so this would maybe be like a graphic novel like I mentioned, or maybe a mini-series would be kind of cool, but I think that there is a possible way that they could frame it like MMPR related, because JJ's in there, Tommy's son, like make it about the main character, Tommy's son. That would probably piss people off, but it's not like it's his fault he's Tommy's son. He's probably got some interesting stuff about him, but then that way, you can like sneak it. You'd be like, oh hey casuals, this is Tommy Oliver's son, but then you can actually tell some cool stories in it, and they could kind of frame it that way and use the iconic imagery of the shield he wears, but then we get an SPD comic with a way that they could actually market it to the casuals, which is unfortunate that we're in this position where we only have one recognizable sect of the franchise, which sucks, but that's a potentially entry level into it, and it could be some interesting stuff too, because if we have JJ in there, whether or not he would be the main character, he's kind of a tether to that lore, and could be some interesting ways to bring back other characters and lore from all over that really expands upon it, which could be cool. Number 2 for me is my main idea that I had in my 2020 thing, and when I talked about Go-Go being ending, I mostly canceled, but it wasn't really canceled, it was just ending. But it's basically an anthology series called Legacy of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, where we bounce around telling stories from all through MMPR through Beast Morphers and beyond, you know, maybe even the New Powers teams, or new teams, that would be ideal, or you know, anything that comes after Beast Morphers. And you frame it through Legacy MMPR, you know, because then you have the logo there, and you kind of get people thinking like, oh, these are the Rangers that came after him. It'd be a cool way to explore a bunch of different teams, rather than like, oh, we're gonna do a Zeo series next, and then a Turbo series. Like, it would be cool to bounce around and see Boom's take on all these different franchises in little stories in range of length. Number 1 for me is kind of a two-parter. Like, in a way. Like, I'd like to see either of them do something Hyperforce. It's kind of a pipe dream, because if they're not going to continue in the format, even though I think a format was a lot of the charm, I'd love to see that story and world continue. I love the characters, so I would personally like to see that. But also, as a different part to number 1, I think it would be cool to just get our own original team. I mean, we don't need to use Sentai. We can make our own team. That would be great. I mean, Hyperforce is our own original team. Yeah, they're tethered to Time Force and stuff like that, but they are an original team. So either Hyperforce or another original team, I think would be my absolute most want. I don't know how likely it would be, but getting an actual new team, where because you have no reason to stick to the Sentai designs when you're on comics or a cartoon format or anything like that. So that's what I would most like to see personally. Also, as a side note, honorable mention, I think it would be cool if we eventually got something related to the 2017 movie. Again, it's something I don't see being an ongoing series, but maybe a one-off or a small little mini-series, just to expand on some of the ideas they had, because I did like their take on the lore and would be interested to see where it would have gone. But that's about it for this list. What do you guys want to see be the new main series that replaces Go-Go for an ongoing one, or potentially some one-offs? Let me know in the comments. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell so you get notifications from my videos. Till next time, Dawson Ryder, signing out.